Have you ever heard of a book from 1926 published completely anonymously that promises to give you a simple, common sense plan for getting anything you want? It's this tiny little book, no fluff, no complicated theories. In fact, when the author's friend first read it, he just said 2 words: it works. And, well, that's what they ended up calling it. And this, right here, is the book's central promise. Just let that sink in for a second. It's not "you might have it," or "maybe, if you're lucky." No. It's a straight-up guarantee. If your desire is clear enough, the result is a sure thing. That is a bold, bold claim, and it's the bedrock for this entire idea. So the author chose to stay completely in the shadows. Why? Because they insisted the message was the only thing that mattered. They believed they had found a universal truth, a secret to their own success and happiness, and all they wanted to do was just pass it on. So what is this deceptively simple plan all about? Okay. Before we get to the solution, the book starts by identifying the problem. It actually gives a name to this habit we all have, the very reason why most of our dreams and wishes just kind of fizzle out. He calls it being a thoughtless wisher. I mean, really, think about it for a second. We all wish for things, right? Big things, small things, pretty much every single day. And yet, most of the time, nothing happens. Well, the book argues that this has nothing to do with bad luck. The problem is actually in the wish itself. Let's look at the book's first example, Jimmy, the office boy. He spots this amazing car and has a fleeting thought. But as the author points out, that's not a real desire. It's just a momentary reaction. There's no focus, no actual power behind that thought. And it's not just Jimmy. You've got Florence, the telephone operator, doing the exact same thing with a diamond ring in a window. These examples are just perfect because they show this universal habit we have. We say we want something, but we don't give it any real energy or intent to actually have it. Now this one probably feels familiar to a lot of us. The Joneses see their perfect dream house. They get that little spark of desire, but then, in the very same breath, they snuff it out with doubt. They decide, oh, that's out of the question. They basically talk themselves out of the wish before it even has a chance. And here is the big aha moment that connects all of this. The book says these aren't real, concrete desires. They're just vocal expressions. They're half-baked thoughts that are missing the one thing they need to actually create a result: focused, genuine intent. So if just vaguely wishing for things is the problem, what in the world is the solution? This is where things get really interesting. The book introduces this idea that there's a silent, incredibly powerful partner inside every single one of us, and it's just waiting for us to give it clear direction. The author calls this power the subjective mind. He says, some people might call it other things, but the label really doesn't matter. What matters is what it is. It's an all-powerful, willing servant inside you, ready to bring things into your life. But here's the catch. It can't and it won't act on mixed signals or confusing commands. Now, this analogy is just brilliant. Think of this inner power like an old-school radio. All those vague wishes from Jimmy and Florence, that's just static. It's noise. But a clear, focused, specific desire, that's like turning the dial and locking in perfectly to the right station. When that signal is strong and clear, you don't get static. You get perfect music. All right, so this brings us right to the heart of the whole book. We're about to go from the what to the how. This isn't just some philosophy to think about. It's what the author calls a resultful plan, and it's built on 3 incredibly simple rules. And there it is. That's the whole plan. First, you have to write down exactly what you want. Second, you read that list 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, to really burn it into your subconscious. Third, you just think about those goals as often as you can. And finally, number 4, you keep it to yourself. Don't let anyone else's doubt or negativity mess with your signal. Okay, so knowing the rules is one thing, but actually putting them into practice is the real challenge, right? The author gives some really crucial advice to make sure this simple plan actually becomes a powerful engine for changing your life. This slide right here, this is probably the most important part of the whole thing. You have to be super, super specific. I want more money is just static, but $5,000 by June 1st, 2026, now that's a crystal clear signal. This is the huge difference between a fuzzy daydream and a definite goal you're working towards. You have to know exactly what you're asking for. The author totally gets that your biggest enemy is going to be doubt, so he gives you an antidote. Whenever you feel that doubt creeping in, just read your list. He also says you should hang around people who already have the things you want. It's living proof that it's possible. And when things start to happen for you, whatever you do, don't just brush it off as a coincidence. You have to acknowledge the power that's at work and be genuinely grateful for it.
Okay, before wrapping up, the author gives a very, very serious warning. This power, this subjective mind, it's completely neutral. It doesn't judge your requests as good or bad, it just delivers.
This is such a profound point. You absolutely can get what you want, but you have to be prepared to take everything that comes along with it. The warning here is to be so careful about what you ask for. You want to focus on things that will bring real good to you and to others, not just fulfill some selfish or even destructive desire.
And that brings us to the author's final challenge, a question aimed directly at you. You now have the blueprint for an idea that people have been quietly using for almost 100 years, an idea they swear just works. So the only question left is the one you see on your screen. What are you going to do with it?